Who was Mahmoud Ahmadinejad they're targeting with this display on state television in Iran?
Hala, there was a famous U.S. President, Teddy Roosevelt, who famously advocated to speak softly but carry a big stick. And I think Iran has a tendency to speak loudly and carry a small stick, meaning this announcement was in many ways quite exaggerated. But what the Iranian government needs to show to its population is that the Iranian people have suffered enormous cost as a result of the government's nuclear intransigence. And they have to be able to show people that there has also been some forward progress, some benefits to this nuclear program.
Well, I want to show our viewers some of the images that were aired on state television. And there we have nuclear scientists wearing face masks. But also on the wall, interestingly, Kareem, are pictures of the murdered nuclear scientists that Iran says Israel killed. Talk to us about the symbolism of all of this in a nuclear laboratory.
Well, I think certainly what the Iranian government would like to do is drum up nationalist support, popular support for their nuclear ambitions. But I would argue, Khalid, that the popularity of this nuclear program within Iran has been very much exaggerated, meaning I think that when people wake up in the morning in Tehran and other Iranian cities, they're not thinking about nuclear fuel rods and centrifuges and enriched uranium. They're thinking about day-to-day concerns, about finding jobs, about putting food on the table, about paying the rent. And I don't think that the Iranian public, is very well informed about what their government is doing, and B, I don't see that the population is going to support the government indefinitely through this tremendous economic duress which people are experiencing.
But Kareem, I was going to say, regardless of scientifically where Iran stands in its nuclear program in the neighborhood, as you know, not just Israel, Saudi Arabia, I mean, these are countries that consider Iran with a nuclear weapon even 2 years down the line to be an existential threat. So what happens next, then, as it continues to display these achievements on television?
I think, Khaled, that what you're going to continue to see on the U.S. end is a policy of coercive diplomacy, of using economic pressures, political pressures, to try to change Iran's cost-benefit calculations and compel the Iranian regime to make meaningful and binding nuclear compromises. I just don't see that as a high likelihood in 2012. So I think we're going to continue to see stalemate in the coming months. But soon the Iranian Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, I think, will have to make some very difficult decisions, whether to make a nuclear compromise with the West or to go for a nuclear weapon. And he's been in power, Khaled, for 23 years. He's not a gambler. He's someone who's been pretty shrewd. But I think both decisions for him would be pretty big gambles.
Right. Well, I mean, knowing him, knowing his style of leadership, here's a man who potentially then would choose what option, do you think? To go ahead with a nuclear weapon or to say it's not worth the isolation?
You know, on one hand, he's long been averse to compromise because he believes that succumbing to pressure will only encourage more pressure. On the other hand, what he has to calculate is if he decides to go for the weapons option, if they're a few years away, he's got to feel secure that the regime will be able to withstand the current and escalating levels of economic and political pressure for that time period. And so I certainly don't envy him. I think that he's put himself in a very difficult position. And in some ways, I would argue that time is more on the side of the United States than it is Iran, because the more time which Iran is subject to this pressure, the more domestic discontent there's going to be.
And the more the economy, I mean, the economy is not doing well either on some levels. So thank you very much, Kareem Sajjadpour.
Thank you.
Would you like some extra cash for shopping? Then get paid the fun and easy way. Online surveys take only a moment of your time, while providing valuable information for companies to improve their products and services, and so you can rest assured that you will be paid well for your input. In fact, online surveys pay so well that people often complete surveys for several companies, turning this fun hobby into a full-time job opportunity. All that is needed is a computer or laptop and internet access, and you are well on your way to raking in your share of this multi-million-dollar industry. Simply follow the link below and start getting paid good money today.